Thank you, friend. Shabbat Shalom. The festival of freedom is upon us. What do you need to free yourself from whatever imprisons you? This parsha forms a fascinating transition as it moves the nature of law from ritual to ethical, beginning in Leviticus 16 with the rules for the day which has become the most important holy day in the year, Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And then moving on to Leviticus 17, which is all about ritual slaughter. Slaughtering of animals, even for food, was to be via a formal ritual done by the priest. There were no butchers. Prior to the flood, man was a vegetarian. After the flood, animals became permitted as food. Leviticus formalized how. Since this involved taking life, it must be done to reflect the sensitivity of that life. We had a greater respect for animals and for ritual, and this is a reminder that we should still have greater respect. We are now so far removed from the life and death of animals and plants, we have lost our awareness of how our food comes to be on our tables. This parsha, my friends, is our reminder. Leviticus 18 is the turning point. God says we are not to be like the Egyptians where we were, or like the Canaanites where we are going. You shall do my judgments, and you shall observe my laws. I am he who causes to be your God. Until now we dealt with ritual, and now we move towards the ethical. The laws are different. We ask why we eat cow and not pig, but we don't ask why we don't steal, lie, or kill. Ethical laws are broader. They're more diverse. They include leaving harvest portions for the poor, judging without bias, honoring the aged, not injuring the deaf or blind, not gossiping, not committing adultery. Ethical laws are about our feelings and about having empathy with our fellow human beings and attributing value to all lives. They are the laws of respect. This week's parsha is acharei, after the death. After the death of Aaron's sons is quite often read in conjunction with the next parsha, kedushim, holy. And the flow of them together changes how we view this entire parsha. After the death, holy. Remember, the divisions in the names came centuries later than the Torah, and it's amazing how the name influences our view, even though, as we've said, the Hebrew doesn't follow the theme. And believe it or not, these parshas are neither about death nor holiness. But we'll save our discussion of holiness for another time. Remember, the title may have nothing to do with the parsha. In this case, it's simply a time-establishing introductory phrase like once upon a time. Only here it's after the death. This year these two parshas are separated by the intermediate days of Passover, the Chol HaMoed. But usually because they're a pair, they hint at the elevation we give the dead, which sometimes we forget to give them in this life. After people die, we often speak of them as if they were saints. How often have you thought, if only I had said these things while someone were still alive? It's still time, friends. Show your love, appreciation, respect, and reverence to the living. Don't wait for the ones you love to go and then put them on a pedestal they probably would have objected to. I think of the Bob Dylan song Someday Baby when he says, I'm so hard-pressed, my mind tied up in knots. I keep recycling the same old thoughts. And friends, don't we too often recycle these same old thoughts? Speak your mind. Say what you think, what you feel. We are given hints throughout this parsha about things to come, one of which is the real theme of after the death, which is atonement, and the atonement ritual. Yom Kippur supplants the festival of freedom as the holiest time of the year, and in so doing, it reminds us of the ancient ritual of the soul's assessment on death. And the final question of the assessors, is there one on earth who is glad you have lived? Don't wait for that assessment, friends. Tell the living what they mean. As the Beatles sang, I want to tell you, my head is filled with things to say. Our lives are defined not by what people say, but by what they do. There is only one currency in life, and that is love. Grow it, share it, spread it. I'll give you all I have to give. If you say you'll love me too, I may not have a lot to give, but what I got, I'll give to you. I don't care too much for money. Money can't buy me love. We are introduced to the only annual lot casting ritual, that for Yom Kippur. There are other stories of casting lots. In fact, lots are used often in the Tanakh, and they are used for divine determination, to reflect the hand of God. As Jonah is identified by Lot to the sailors, as Achan is identified as the despoiler at Jericho, as Saul is chosen as the first king of Israel. But Divine determination lots identify a single individual in a specific situation, while non-divine determination lots are about the community and fairness or chance. The goat ritual of Yom Kippur for Azazel is the only annual event involving the casting of lots and sets the precedent for all subsequent lotteries regarding fairness. There were two lots. On one was written Ladonai and on the other Lazazel, the lamed indicating that the object of the question belonged to so-and-so. And friends, we don't know Azazel. This is the only use of the word in the Tanakh. Our sages have tried to explain it, and of course, the common view is that it is a desert demon of some kind. Some have taken it to be a type of competing deity. But the reality is, we don't know. But the people of the Torah did know. Friends, we are given the Yom Kippur sacrifice description in Leviticus 16:22. And we are then told that it shall be an eternal law for you. In the 7th month, on the 10th of the month, you shall degrade yourselves. We are actually never told to fast. The verb is the same as that used to describe what the Egyptians did to the Israelites. Degradation was affliction. And we have taken it to mean that we do not eat, drink, bathe, or wear fine shoes, that we are humbling ourselves. But friends, atonement is taken here to mean purify. We don't define it that way. Definitions change. We have turned its definition into one of make up for, to atone. Its real meaning of purification is different. When you read the instructions, it says, he shall atone over the sacred zone. Friends, during the year, accumulated sins and transgressions and inadvertencies of the people build up as a kind of smog of pollution that threatens the sanctity of the tent of meeting and therefore the Holy of Holies, and therefore in later times the sanctity of the temple. And so the rite of purgation scrubs everything clean of impurity and therefore makes the sacred zone viable for another year. Sacred time, sacred space. Over time, tradition transformed this physical ritual of purification into one of spiritual repentance and atonement. Just like the real meaning of sacrifice and ritual slaughter is different. There is a line in the Septuagint which is missing from the Masoretic text, which talks of slaughter and points to the slaughter of an animal as being akin to murder, because it may involve taking a life without respect for life's sanctity, because, friends, blood is life. And the Torah says again and again, the flesh's life is in the blood, and the consumption of which brings impurity. The laws, my friends, are not presented as a burden, but as a blessing. They are pictured as a path to life and a means to holiness. You are about to embark on the festival of freedom, the festival of egoless bread. And we'll talk about it next week, but remember, the instructions are not to read from a book, but to tell the story of freedom. And to tell it in the present as if you are the one who is freed. And friends, who among you doesn't want to be free? Next week we'll talk more about how to be free. Shabbat Shalom.